Okay, before we start the next dinim, which are called the laws of Avodah Zarah, I want to give an introduction. We learned it in different classes. There's idol worshipping for a Jew and there's idol worshipping for a non-Jew. One of the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, one of the 7 Noach laws, is a guy is not allowed to worship idols. So for instance, there's a big argument in the Rishonim, like the Rambam and other poskim, whether, I'm going to explain it in a minute. The Rambam writes like this: Christianity is Avodah Zarah for a guy, forget for a Jew. For a non-Jew, it's also Avodah Zarah, but Muslim is not considered Avodah Zarah. The Ramah, other Rishonim also earlier, hold on that for a Jew is definitely Christianity is Avodah Zarah, but for a non-Jew it's not called Avodah Zarah. Okay, now what's the difference? What's the argument over here? There's what's called belief in God, Avodah Zarah, not to bow down to idols. But there's something called shituf. Shituf actually means a partnership. Now what does a partnership mean? A partnership by definition means all the partners have a say. If one partner doesn't have a say, then it's not a partnership. A worker doesn't have a say, but if it's a partner means they all have a say. So the question is like this: is a guy allowed to believe, to use the Goyish expression, in a Trinity? Or is a guy allowed to believe, yes, there's God, but there are other powers in addition to God? A Jew is for sure not allowed to believe in that, because a Jew, the pasuk says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that there's only one God, there's no other powers but Hashem. Hashem Echad over there really means like Hashem Yochid, Hashem is the only one. So in other words, according to Yiddishkeit, a Jew has to believe that the sun gives warmth and the moon and these things make things grow and give us sustenance and everything. According to a Jew, according to Torah, a Jew is not allowed to believe that they have any power whatsoever. It says, Chassidus uses the expression, it's only kegazin biyad ha'chaitzif. It's like the axe in the hand of the chopper. When the chopper chops down the tree, you say thank you to the chopper. You don't say thank you to the axe. Why? Because the axe had no say in the matter if he should or shouldn't. Or to use a more modern example, if somebody gives you a ride in their car, when you get out of the car, you say thank you to the person who gave you the ride. You don't say thank you to the car. I mean, today's people might. But normally you say thank you to the driver, not to the car. The car brought you here. I mean, the car was the one that actually brought you here. So what's the answer? You say thank you to somebody that had a choice to do it or not to do it. Like to do you a favor, not to do you a favor. They chose to do you a favor. So you say thank you for the choosing that they chose to do you a favor. But the car didn't have a say in the matter if it should bring you or not. The car has no opinion of its own. So a Jew is obligated to believe that the sun, the moon, all the constellations that function in the world have no opinion of their own. It's Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Hashem Yochid. They are only like the axe in the hand of the chopper. Or like a microphone, that the speaker is speaking through a microphone and everybody hears it because of the microphone. You don't say thank you to the microphone. You heard the speech only through the microphone. Without the microphone, you might have not heard the speech. The answer is the microphone has no say in the matter. A Jew is obligated by Torah law to believe that nothing has an ability in the world to function. It's all the axe in the hand of Hashem who's chopping, who's functioning. That's a given. Now the question is, does this concept apply to Goyim or not? And here the question would be, is Christianity, that they believe in a Trinity, in the three powers, would that be Avodah Zarah for a Goy? According to the Rambam, The Rambam holds that a goy, and that's why the Rambam writes Christianity is avodah zarah for a goy, because according to the Rambam, a goy also has to believe that there's only Hashem and no other powers. So Trinity, by giving power to the three, whatever, so then you're believing in three things, not... But so according to the Rambam, Christianity is avodah zarah. Muslims isn't, Islam isn't, because all they're saying is there's one God and there's a prophet. They're not saying there's other gods or other powers. So therefore the Rambam writes clearly that it's not avodah zarah. Some of it was censored by them. Some of the Rambams don't have it because it was censored by the Romans when they were censoring the Gemara and the Rambam and so on. But according to the Rambam, Christianity for a Jew for a Goy is avodah zarah. The Rambam, and that's the way most people paskin, Ashkenazic paskin, that's the way most people in the world paskin today, that for a Goy, it's not considered avodah zarah. Why? Because a Goy is allowed to believe in Shituf. In other words, a Goy is not allowed to believe that this is God. They have to believe in Hashem, in a God, and these things also have powers. So therefore, it wouldn't be avodah zarah for a Goy. This is an introduction to what I'm explaining now. What?
Isn't it a different kind of Christianity?
There could be. I'm not acquainted with all the facets of Christianity, but generally speaking, the halacha is, because by the way, if it would be avodah zarah, a Jew would not be able to do with any business with a non-Jew at all. Because in Shulchan Aruch it says, before the Goyish holiday, you're not allowed to deal with a Goy 3 days before, 3 days after, and 3 days after. Now, because Goyim worship Sunday, that means you wouldn't be allowed to do business 3 days before and 3 days after, and therefore you're stuck basically with not doing business with any Goyim. Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah Paskin, that no, so nowadays, B'chal, this question, many Paskim use the expression, Bisman Hazeh, the Goyim are not worshipping idols, because again, I'm not talking about, by the way, Buddhas and those guys, what else, no? No, not the Sikhs, also not. But Buddha, and that type of thing, the Mamash, Buddha is the God, and they bow down to, that's Mamash avodah zarah according to all opinions. Okay, so now, coming back to the din is as follows. Something which is an idol, or connected to idol worshipping, is forbidden to have benefit from. You're not allowed to own it, you're not allowed to benefit from it, you can't sell it, you can't do anything. Not only that, if this idol got mixed up amongst 100 other things, okay, 1,000 other things, 100,000 other things, it's never bottled, it's never nullified. So something of avodah zarah got mixed into 1,000 times more other things which are not idol worshipping, all of it's forbidden to use. Okay? So now the question comes around, but that's only basically if it's worshipped. Now to give you an example like this, a cross, okay? Now a cross, the question is a cross an object of avodah zarah or not? It's not across the board. The answer halachically is, if it's something that they worship, I'll explain what that means, what I mean in a minute what that means, then it has a din of avodah zarah. And therefore you can't benefit from it. If it's not worshipped, that means people don't bow to it, then it's not avodah zarah, it's a jewelry piece. So for instance, what happens if you have a big cross in a church or whatever that people bow to? In their services, they bow to the cross. So that cross is avodah zarah. For a Jew, it's avodah zarah. So therefore, a Jew would not be allowed to have any benefit from that whatsoever. And if that cross got mixed into 1,000,000 other things, whatever way, nothing would be allowed. But what happens if it's a cross that people don't bow down to? It's a jewelry piece. People wear necklaces with a cross on it. So then halacha says that's not worshiping. Nobody bows down to the cross that somebody wears on the neck. They just don't. They're wearing it as a jewelry piece. So that wouldn't be considered avodah zarah. Therefore, you could benefit from it. To give you a simple example, if a Jew is a jeweler, and he has non-Jewish clientele also, right? He's not in a very religious neighborhood, let's say he's in a neighborhood where they have Yiddish people, Goyish people, and Goyish people, they come in to buy a cross. So the question is he allowed to sell it? Is he allowed to deal with it and things like that? So again, because it's a jewelry piece that nobody's bowing down to, he is allowed to sell it. The question only if he could sell it to a Jew. But even that, it's not an object of avodah zarah. A cross is only avodah zarah when people worship it or bow down to it.
How about manufacturing, like a jeweler?
Again, if the jeweler is manufacturing crosses for ornaments, not for a church, whatever, for ornaments, they would be allowed to do it. Another interesting thing, and you find people that are very fanatic about this, but again, if you want to be fanatic, that's fine. But halachically, there's no basis for it. You know a plus sign? Okay. So many religious Jews, now nobody writes anyway. Nobody knows how to write. You notice kids don't write script, they don't know how to write anything. But years ago, when you used to do math with your hands and you write the problems, and you had to make a plus sign. So in many religious circles, they didn't make a plus sign. They would make a line and only the bottom line, not the cross through line.
In the regular school, we used to have the line and the line on top.
Okay, the line on top, line on bottom, but they wouldn't have the line going through.
It was non-religious.
Yeah, now, that's because of laziness.
Maybe.
But the bottom line is, there's no question that, I'm not saying people want to be fanatic, you can be fanatic as long as you don't hurt other people with your fanaticism. But technically, a plus sign is not a cross. A cross is when it's not exactly in the middle. It's whatever, way up, right?
The way to write it.
The way to write it. So the pearl, a plus sign in math is not in any way considered a cross. And even if, it's not somebody bows down, unless you put some money there, maybe people bow to money. But then it wouldn't be an issue at all of avodah zarah or anything like that. But things that people worship, let's say, I'll give you another example, and we'll start this and we'll continue Mishum tomorrow. But to walk into a church sanctuary where people pray, that a Jew is not allowed to walk into. Because that's mamish, the place where they pray, where they bow to the crosses and all that. For a Jew, that's avodah zarah. So for a Jew, it's considered a place of avodah zarah. Interestingly, halachically, I'm not saying it should be done, but halachically, technically, a Jew would be allowed to walk into a mosque. I'm not saying they should. The meaning is they don't. But then technically, because even the Rambam holds it's not avodah zarah at all, and there's no avodah zarah going on in a mosque, it's Allah with God and whatever. So then technically, a mosque wouldn't be an issue for a Jew to walk into. But for what?
If you have let's say, a cleaning lady or something of that nature who's religious and stops in the middle of her and decides to pray right below your home, did you object in any way, or she's not?
She's a live-in that has her own room, or she comes and goes?
No, she comes and goes. Or what's the difference?
Well, if she has her own room, tell her go to the room to pray. It would be better to suggest to her, without getting into fights, there is a concept called Darkei Shalom, that she should pray maybe outside or, not in the house. You have the same issue. A lot of cleaning ladies, and I know many people go berserk about this, fanatic about it. Many cleaning ladies come and they're wearing a cross. And the Jews don't want that in the house. Okay? Which, everybody's entitled to the Mishigas. Is it a terrible thing that she's wearing a jewelry called a cross? I mean, what do you think? Kids don't see it today. Maybe they don't want little kids to see these types of things. Fine. But again, halachically, you don't have to tell her, throw her out and get out of here because she's wearing a jewelry piece called a cross. It's not. I mean, you can ask her to cover it, you can explain to her, but that's it.